Hello YouTube, I Fix It All here, Team I Fix It All. A little bit of a garden update. This is hay, and those are my taters. And it's June 10th, 2022. And I don't know what I can use for scale here. Let's say that that cattle fencing. These are 6-inch differences. Then I'll squat down here and zoom you in a little bit, and you can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 5, about 30 inches tall. Yeah, so I put my taters in I think it was end of February, late February, in the hay. And my objective here, I cannot grow potatoes without getting potato bugs. I think I've cracked the code. Everybody listen up. If you want to beat potato bugs, try the hay method. Grow your taters in the hay. Don't expect any good stuff on your first laydown of hay. Just look it up. It's called the Ruth Stout method. But I've got to get these potatoes out of the ground by the end of June. Inside this little teepee here, that's for the cloven hoof disciples of the devil. They come from everywhere out there in the wilderness called deer, and they will eat my sweet potatoes up. And here's a sweet tater right here. Sweet potatoes. All of it's inside a little protected teepee. I've got sweet potatoes, and then I got volunteer taters. Sweet potatoes. Anyway. And then I've got a experiment going on through here. Doing a decent long row of beets. Squashes. Various types. Got pumpkin. And over here I've got my blueberry. Gobs of blueberries with netting. And if you have a place to grow it, grow bamboo. It's a resource. I've got a few places in the back of the house that promoted quick bamboo, so I ended up with a crap ton of tomato stakes when I was still growing my garden in the dirt, but now we're raised bed, first time. And then inside this webbing here, also, I've got my strawberries. A little garden update here. Gosh, I hope this video doesn't turn out to be a year long. Really tightly condensed corn patch, 3 rows. And we did do there's Chief asparagus. If you look at it real close for a minute, it looks like an Indian head. See his nose, his mouth, his eyeball. I want to put a feather up here. Chief asparagus. We call it asparagus because that's the asparagus bed. We've got 2 asparaguses up. You see them? The green guys. And then we've got fruits, pears, peaches. A couple of new little cherry up through there. Garden is doing good. Got peas on. going to town on the peas. The wife is waiting for them to fill out. She wants to get actual peas instead of just doing pea pods. The video here is just an update on the garden and what all's happening. Struggling peppers. So we ran into an issue, I think, and I think I've put together a garden bed that's absolutely unbelievable in holding moisture. So in my early videos, the first thing I did was I laid about 12 inches of hay, and then I came in with, gosh, almost a foot of mulch, a little over a foot of mulch, and then the remaining 6 or 8 inches, it was topsoil. And so we had suspicions about things yellowing in the garden, like our pole beans. We've still got a section of pole bean here, and that area there is suspiciously yellow. I was blaming it on my manure because I put in 12 inches of hay, then about 12 or 14 inches of mulch, that stuff right there, then about 5 or so inches of manure, which was hot manure, like fresh, and then the dirt, and then I tilled it. I tilled it all up on the top. So I was blaming it on the manure. We got a lot of stuff out really super early, and we pushed the limits on certain things. Tomatoes are recovering and looking fine. I'm not unhappy. Carrots, cabbages, onions. We even got some celery going on here. We chopped off a celery and we're doing an experiment. And we got a lettuce head that started rooting. We kept the bottom of the lettuce head from Kroger, put it in some water, it started rooting. So I'm going to see what that happens to that. That's an experiment. We got a bunch of different varieties of stuff going on. Happy with the garden so far. I need to learn how to capture onion seed. Learned a lot about onions this year. Had a suspicion about the manure, but then I got to thinking, well, what else would cause things to yellow? So I've got a moisture meter here by Luster Leaf, and that is a digital soil pH meter, and there's a moisture meter. Comes with good instructions and all that, so I'm going to take it out of the package, and I'm going to take some moisture readings. We haven't had significant rainfall in zip code 24941 on the 10th of June, just so you can check on the accuracy of what I'm saying on this video, because I'm kind of reviewing the product. I'm not too concerned with the pH testing. It comes with an instruction sheet that lists just about every vegetable you can think of and what pH you should be at. So what we know is when we shove that thing in the ground, its default is 7.0. That means it's reading nothing for some reason. That's just what the instructions say. But you put it in the ground and you wait about 30 seconds, and then the display will give you a reading. And we have about 6.1 to 6.3 pH, which is reasonable for most of the stuff we are growing. But the biggest concern was my moisture detector. So let's check some moisture readings. It's cloudy, but we haven't had a real hard rainfall for several days. As a matter of fact, when we first planted this garden, when we didn't have these two tools, we were out here watering about every day to every other day. And I think we were overwatering. I discovered something. In the instructions on the moisture meter, let me give a plug again to the company name. It is Luster Leaf. The product works real well. It's real simple. In the moisture meter, when you turn it on, the instructions say that it's calibrating itself again and it's ready for use. So I'm going to turn it off. You got to keep the end cleaned. I'm kind of confused on whether that's the sensor or if this coupled with that is the sensor, but they give you a really light grit Scotch-Brite. They call it your cleaner. I clean this thing every time I put it in the ground. When you put it in the ground, if you're not getting a reading, you kind of wiggle it around a little bit. I know these plants have grown and rooted in to the point that I'm thinking that these roots aren't easily down to where my thumb is, so I'm measuring with this thing pushed all the way in the ground. Okay, so the pH sensor, when you turn it on, it defaults to 7.0, and you wait, and then it gives you your pH reading. If it doesn't give you a reading other than 7.0, then one of two things is going on. It's not making good surface contact to the earth, or your soil pH is 7.0. This, when you turn it on, the default is 0. It just calibrated itself. The instructions tell me about something called Wilt Factor. What moisture level reading will you read in relationship to when the plant should show signs of wilting? Let's just get to the brass tacks of it. Wilt factor for most of this stuff we're growing is like 3 to 4. If this reads anywhere around 3 to 4, that means your soil's really dry, and if you don't add water, you're risking your leaves and things starting to wilt. Well, to our surprise, the max reading on the moisture detector is 9.9. Well, that makes sense. It's a 2-digit display. Okay? Can't do 10. So 9.9 is the maximum. When we first purchased this, we had not had rain for a few days, and I shoved this in the ground, and I was getting like 9.2 readings, 9.8, in some places 9.9. So I'm going to do a moisture reading right now and review this product. Luster Leaf. Right there it is. Good stuff. I'm going to put this in the ground and see what we come up with. .3, and I'm going to clean it off. I honestly have to use my shirt to wipe it off on. I'm going to turn it off again and back on. It calibrates itself. And let's see what that says. I hope you guys can see that. I'm reading 8.3. Wow. All right, so the level of mulch that I have in here, I believe, is holding a lot of moisture. So we got like 5 point something in here. I'm going to do a second reading. Do another reading. Let's go back here. And that says 6.0. That's a hell of a difference between just a couple of feet. Let's go back over here to another section. Turn it off again. Back on. Measure the moisture. I'll just tell you, I'm reading 7.8. So far, it's telling me my moisture is still really high. Go down to the end here a little bit. My phone looks like it went to, there, something brightened up. I don't know. It just didn't look like it was bright enough. Let's see what that reads. .3. What you're supposed to do is take a mental note of this. That happens. I gotta glue that. Take a mental note of what your readings are, or jot them down and do some averaging. Here's another bed. I'll give you an example. I just watered these guys here. These are water hogs, celery and lettuce head. So I expect that to be really, yeah. So that's reading 9.9. And you can see I've got watering going on there. So 9.9. Let's jump in with the kale. Turn it off and back on again. Find a spot where I can jab in. And it's telling me 6.1. Okay, that didn't feel like a decent contact, but we'll go over here to, here's what I want to do. I think the beans are going to be telling me what I need to know. Main thing I do know right now is that my beds are telling me I don't need to water. I'm going to expect this area of pole beans to have a lower moisture reading than that area. Rolling the dice here live. Trying to make a speculation, but all right. How in the hell is that 9.9? It hasn't rained in so long. Let's try this. 8.3. I mean, we've had a couple of small showers. Nothing like a torrential downpour. I was expecting that area to be lower than this area. Okay, so it made a liar out of me. That's 7.0. This is a good tool to have, because if you have raised beds, you kind of need to know if you're doing right or not by the plants you're growing. We were just guessing. Okay, let's just water tonight. 8.9. Well, it's acting the opposite of what it was doing the other day. There could be some real hot manure in there. I don't know. But these look really healthy. Something's going down here. Here's sweet potatoes. This is the beds that I really want to dry out, because sweet potatoes like your dry earth. And oops, I forgot to turn it on. Okay. It's calibrated. Let's go to a new Holby. Let's see what we got. And that's telling me it's 8.3. That's still kind of high for sweet potatoes in my opinion. So things are moving along real well. Pole beans are climbing. Honestly, everything we got in this garden was way too early. We were worried sick over our tomato plants. Let's look at the tomatoes. Actually, So let's just see what the maters are able to drink. Well, it's telling me 9.6. I honestly can't see any reason to water these. I mean, you got to believe your meter. That's one of I'm in the electrical industry, and when I was in the Navy, going through A school and C school, I had a problem believing my meter. So I'm going to trust the product because it's acting like I think it should be acting, and it's telling me that I don't need to add water. And our friends of our family of ours, I'm sorry, tell us that tomatoes need like a gallon of water a day, or almost a gallon per plant. 7.5 right there. And of course, my brother-in-law, that's who I'm talking about, and his wife, wonderful people. Literally, they grow some beautiful vegetables. Carrots, we'll check carrots out. Oh, these beds, I did some thinning, and these carrots, I'm just throwing the old carrot down on the ground here, but they've all wilted already. These carrots are drilling deep. They have very little resistance. I'm expecting some decent carrots. Turn this on again. I'm hopeful we have decent carrots. Ooh, that's a hard chunk of earth right there. And it's telling me, oh, come on, 6.0 in this particular area I just probed. Let's check out this tomato plant here. And it's telling me 8.6, 8.5. Check out the onion. See what's going on there. And onion's telling me 6.8. Now earlier you saw me pulling this out and it's separated right there. I think that's the only little complaint I've got, is I'm always worried when I'm extracting, I have to make sure I'm grabbing it from the gray thing. I will probably intentionally separate this and add some JB Weld. It's doing well. By comparison, we'll check. Well, it's pointless. I mean, sure, we'll check the asparagus if we want. Going in at an angle here, and that's telling me in that particular area, that's a no-go because it shut off. I must have had it on for too long. It shuts off after a certain amount of time. I try to make it a habit. I turn it off and turn it back on every probe. So we'll get that in the ground. Find a spot. And that says 9.9. Let's take another reading. Nine point 8.9, it just changed. And let's just compare that to regular earth. And let's say 9.9. Huh. Confusing. I don't even have any hay or anything in here. This should be the moisture area because it's low. I created dips, low dips, because I'm so close proximity on the corn that my intentions are these high humps are what I'm going to use to hoe with. I'm going to be hoeing that dirt over toward the corn and that over. I would expect this to be moisturer. Let's see if I can get in there. Oh, I can't get a good reading. I need a place I can, cooperate. I'm going to try that. That's telling me 7.7, 7.5. We could have had a shower recently. But the point I'm trying to make here is that everything looks really dry here. That's our sky condition. We haven't had torrential downpours. But these beds, because of the mulch, I believe, they're holding a reserve of water. Which means the plants, once they mature enough, and what's wrong, Story? Once they mature, got cats everywhere, they're tapping into that reserve water. I don't know what happened. I've lost a lot of beets. That's why I did an emergency row up there. And I should have waited and did it later in the year, but I gotta have my beets. We're not really sure what we have in here. I could look at it now and tell you, like, I know that one right there. That's definitely going to be Brussels sprout. That's cabbage. That looks like a Brussels sprout. That could be cauliflower or broccoli. That looks like broccoli. That's probably Brussels sprout. That's definitely Brussels sprout. Something happened. We got all combobulated planting. So there's a garden update and a review of this rapid digital soil moisture meter. I recommend the products. Both of them worked really well. It gave me information that I didn't have before, which told us we were about to kill our entire garden by overwatering. So, you guys have a great day. Thank you.